Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Indie Choice Picks. Now, before we get started, I just want to apologize. I got my schedule all mixed up with my uploads. Between Nerd Power Hour and then the facts has been very crazy over here, as well as I have had a few weddings to go attend to. But I'm getting back on track. I have a few more interviews left before I go on vacation in October, returning in November. Already scheduled interviews. So today on Indie Choice Picks, we have the awesome Karl O'Rowe, and he's the creator of Deathsworn. So if you guys like solar vampires and intergalactic travels with a good old vampire hunter, well, you're gonna like this story. So please sit back and relax, and let me bring you Karl O'Rowe and the creator of Deathsworn. Deathsworn. All right, you guys enjoy. Kyle O'Rowe. That's how did I say that right? I said that right, right?
Carl.
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 What did I
Yeah.
say?
Kyle.
Sorry, dude. I'm a little dyslexic a little bit. So,
Yeah.
Carl, nice to meet you, man.
Good.
I see your book float around on Twitter, and I just had to have you on the show. Deathsworn, book one. So, Mike is yours, bro. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. Well, Deathsworn is a 80s inspired gritty space fantasy. It's about there's an empire of sunsteel and solar vampires called the Darkstars that have amassed these gigantic space stations that wrap around the suns and suck them of all their energy, and they enslave the planetary systems. And in doing this, they've just they're destroying the galaxy. They've left completely broken, destroyed individuals. And while most bow to their new leaders, some rage a personal war against the forces that have taken everything against them, taken everything from them. And that's Warren. That's our main guy.
That's cool, man. So, you said, let me get this straight. You said solar vampires, as in like
Yeah.
vampires, like classic vampires that like sunlight, or like space vampires.
No, these guys are like, instead of needing to suck blood to survive and being scared of the sun, these guys need to suck sun to survive. They need sunlight to survive. So
That's
they go
interesting.
around conquering suns, and then they in doing so they barter with planetary systems. So they'll go down to the planets within this solar system, and they'll be like, you give us this amount of slaves to run this sun station, and we'll give you, an hour of sunlight a day, 2 hours of sunlight a day. And they have these relay stations where they can shoot, sunlight to different galaxies and different stuff. So they're pretty evil, pretty badass, and they're just kind of destroying the galaxy.
All right. Well, I got your Indiegogo page open. I'm just going to share the screen real quick with you. So let me know when you're able to see your page.
Yeah, it's up.
So I saw your designs of Deathsworn, your main character. He's gone through pretty hefty redesigns over the last few years, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, it was always the same silhouette. It was just trying to figure out what parts to keep and what parts to let go. And even like when I started the book, he's kind of changed, and they all change. They all sort of, you get more comfortable with them as you draw, and you kind of figure out really who they are. And yeah, so I think he started off just purple. He's purple, and I think he had lighter hair and stuff, and he was skinnier. And I was going for much more of that kind of Snake Plissken type. Like he was going to be just a wiry kind of, a shooter, just a kind of savage guy that just didn't care, kind of Clint Eastwoody sort of wiry guy. And then as I kept drawing him and drawing him, drawing him, he kept getting that sort of He-Man, just bulky brick shit house physique.
So is
And
he a human or some type of alien, or maybe a solar vampire himself? Because I see his eyes over here glowing. Is that the helmet, or are those his eyes?
no, that's just a helmet. No, he's human. I mean, there's no real reference to Earth, or it's not in our galaxy. It's a complete kind of space fantasy. But he's human. He's a normal guy. He kind of has above average strength, and but that's really it.
Okay. Now, what causes him to want to go fight these solar vampires? I'm assuming these are the solar vampires right here, right?
Yeah. All the pale, elfy looking people are solar vampires.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, Deathsworn's a guy. He's kind of lost everything. He's lost himself, and he's stuck in this sort of just vengeance, like just always trying to kill these guys. He's amassed this kind of outlaw status and this the name Deathsworn is kind of given to him because he's destroyed so much. He's kind of become known to the Darkstars as this sabother that kind of will find them and try to destroy space stations to try to stop them from taking slaves or whatever. And even in the campaign, we have an Ashcan. It's a 46-page black and white. It's bent manga sized, and that's really cool. That's kind of like a deleted scene that shows one of these kind of adventures, like one of these espionage sabotage missions that Deathsworn goes on to destroy a Darkstar space station before the kind of it leads directly into the first book, but it's sort of self-contained,
Cool, cool.
So yeah, he's sort of a lot of it is in the story. It's a mystery of exactly how and why. Deathsworn isn't a good guy, and he wasn't really a good guy in his past, and he's kind of completely gone. That's one of the cool things about this story and these characters is that I kind of always have to get him stuck. He has to be stuck somewhere so that he can work with these other people, and he kind of has to rebuild himself and rebuild a new identity that he can survive on
I
past
got you.
this.
Cool. Is this sidekick right here? Is she a solar vampire gone rogue?
Yeah, so she's the kind of rebel princess of the story. That's Princess Tatiana Darkstar.
Okay.
And yeah, she's sort of, she doesn't really know where she stands with the Darkstar. She doesn't like what they're doing. She thinks that there's not going to be a galaxy left for anybody to live in, let alone the Darkstars. And but they're her family. Her dad's the emperor, her brother's the prince, and she ends up getting kind of trapped on this adventure with Deathsworn, where it really takes Deathsworn. It takes Deathsworn's hardcore attitude to really make her, take a stand and figure out where her allegiance actually lies and what she's gonna do about it. So
That's interesting, man. Sounds like you went really deep into the character development and story with these characters.
well, I think I mean a lot of these characters I had way before I ever thought of Deathsworn. I even had the name Deathsworn before I came up with the character. And then all of those ideas just came together, and I think it was just I had all these archetypes just sitting around waiting to be put together into one whole story rather than their own stories.
Hmm.
So and then when I actually started writing it, that's when I came up with the idea of making her this twin character, making the kind of she's kind of the good twin, and she has this evil twin Nikolai, he's not necessarily evil, but he's the worse off. And I needed someone to kind of chase them. I needed a force from the Darkstars to be chasing the trio, chasing Deathsworn and Tatiana across this story, to really give it that kind of energy. And I thought of this character Nico, and I just fit in perfectly. That she's the rebel princess that kind of doesn't know where she stands, and then he's the sort of tyrant prince that wants to take over from his dad, thinks he can do better than his dad, thinks he can run the empire better, you know and yeah, just kind of added for a lot of interaction and growth between these kind of uh real archetypal personalities.
Okay, sounds good. I had a question on the tip of my tongue. Um, can't really get it. Oh, there it is. Boom. Are you the only one doing the artwork, or do you have a team working with you?
No, I do everything. I write and I pencil, ink, color, letter.
Wow. How long does it take you to clear one page? Because it seems like you go really in depth here with the artwork.
uh Well, I mean, it's a weird thing because I kind of go back and forward, and even now I'm going back and forward a lot, and it's a weird thing because you're always growing, and
Hmm.
especially with this version now, like trying to make it as best as I can, and but again, a lot of this because there's so much. This is originally it was being put out in floppies with a different publisher, and I didn't like how that was going, so I stopped that, and I'm doing it all myself now. I'm putting it instead. I'm going to be putting them out in these big books now, and so there's a lot of this that is kind of like a year or 2 years older, and I'm sort of looking at it like, should I redo this? But I'll just be stuck in a circle of always doing it. So it depends on what's taking time. The ash like there's a different process for everything, you know. And the Ashcan is a lot trashier. I'm going for that sort of underground comic vibe that kind of has like manga style action, and it has a lot of grit and a lot of kind of I can let just sort of ink fly and not really kind of give care a lot of attention. When the main book, I think of it like a blockbuster, you know, like this is the main book. Book one is like the proper, you know, real deal. So yeah, a lot of those pages you're looking at, I'm looking at now, and I'm like, I should tweak that, I should change that. So
That's what I was doing kind of like this morning. Just kind of, this is the first time I've had the chance to actually work on my comic book. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I might have to go back and tweak that. That doesn't look right. Because, you know, it takes forever to complete a comic book, especially if you're like you or me and you're the only person doing the work. And you kind of gain more skills as you go, and you're thinking about that one page you did, and you want to go back and see if you can make these new techniques happen on that page. And like you said, it's a never-ending cycle; it just keeps on going and going and going. And you're like, you know what? I just got to stop and get this thing completed. You know?
yeah, even with writing, because I've been going back and relettering the whole thing, and seeing how much I've grown just with lettering, just being able to make the letters look way more comfortable on page, making them sort of more expressive, being able knowing when to like, you know, make some letters big, make some letters small, whatever. And but more than that, like the actual writing itself, no, like being able to change the dialogue just that subtly, or change it entirely to make it flow better, or to make it more in line with like how I see that character now than I did before, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, it's really cool. It's I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, you're kind of always, especially when you work on everything at once, you're kind of I find that it's better to go constantly mix, you know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of like, because you can go and you can pencil and ink 20 pages, and then when it comes to color and it's like you forgot how to color. You're like,
Yeah.
how do I do this again? It's much like I'm still trying to find that perfect balance of,
Yeah.
should I do one whole page to letters and then send it off and be like, okay, that's done, and then get on to the next one, or does that constantly have to be this back and forth, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I get that a lot. I was just, like I said, I just started going back to work today on some comics. Just kind of do something in the morning, and I'm like, man, do I remember how to do this? I haven't opened up Photoshop in literally weeks. It's been weeks since I've opened that program, and I'm like, okay, got to figure this out. Oh, cool. You know Von Klaus. I had him on the show a few months ago with his book Monster MD. Oh, cool dude.
Yeah, Vaughn's really cool, and he's like a great creator. He's probably one of the hardest working people I know
Yeah,
in
for
comics
sure.
and in this scene, you know.
He's
And
completely crushed his campaign with Monster MD. I think he made like $50,000, $60,000 in
yeah, I think he's
funds.
coming up to 60K, and yeah, he deserves it, man. He's the hardest working guy I know in the scene. Like,
Yeah, for sure. How long have you been working on this comic?
I mean, it goes back to, I guess, I mean, in total, like with all the characters and stuff. I mean, I came up with the character Deathsworn in like Halloween 2016. So it's sort of been cooking with me then. And then there was a version I got about, I think, 8 pages deep in, that I just scrapped because it just didn't like how it kind of turned out. And it was way too complicated. It wasn't anywhere near, you know, the story that we have now. But I mean, maybe in this version of Deathsworn, maybe 2 or 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
kind of on and off between other work and other jobs and stuff.
This is some really great artwork, I'd have to say, man. Like, you do this all by yourself?
Yeah.
Wow, this is incredible.
Thanks, man.
So let me go back up because I know a lot of people who watch the show, they're planning on running their campaigns pretty soon. So I do this little segment towards the end where I ask you questions about how well you ran your campaign because you're nearly up at, what happened? You're nearly up to 10 grand over here. So go ahead, man. Jump on in, dude. How did you get to that such a high number of people supporting your comic book? Give out some tips to the audience.
Uh, well, I think if you go back before, and even before I put out, you know, the campaign, or even thought about running a campaign, I did have this other version of the book going out to people in a floppy form. Not everybody can do that, but what I also was doing, I was always putting out stuff, always pumping out pages, never being afraid to pump out stuff. Never be afraid to talk about the process or what you thought was wrong, or if you're going back to fix this page or whatever. And also, like, you have to, I think that there was a certain kind of, like, Twitter is like, or Twitter or any social media or whatever, it's like a playground, and everybody else out there is as talented or creative as you. And if you can really get your character out there and really make them archetypal and really sell them, as you know, when you look at them, you kind of know what they're about, you know what their character is, then I think it gives a lot of play with people. It's like a kid looking at an action figure, knowing exactly how to play with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's you're kind of putting out your Mickey Mouse, and people know the rules of Mickey Mouse and where to bend and what to want. And so you get fan art, and you get people being creative. You get people being able to joke with your characters or slag them off or whatever. I think that's important about a comic. Is like, especially on these Indiegogo things, is like have a iconic, you know, a front man, a front of house for your book, you know, your Mickey Mouse that you can put out there. And that was when I went about designing Deathsworn as a character all those like years ago. It was because I couldn't sell myself. I didn't know how to get on social media and sell my stuff and get out there. And I said, you know, I need something that I need a character that I can brand and make him as known as like my signature, you know. And I created Deathsworn specifically for that. So I think that's an important part about the book, you know, like, and then mailing list is important. Uh, Almost the entire first 2 weeks, the majority of purchases was the mailing list perk, and they pushed the campaign way over. And then it's funny because they actually drop off where you know, you kind of, you reach the end of people on the mailing list really buying it, and then other new people are coming in, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
mailing list super important, and getting it up there about that 200 to 300 mark, and having I tried to get it so that I'd have stuff to give away for just signing up for the mailing list before that. So if you watch the video, there's music on the video. That's the Deathsworn track. It's like a synthwave track. It was made by a guy called Fausto. And so I was giving that away on the mailing list. So if you sign up for the mailing list, I'm going to send you a free MP3, a free song, 6-minute song, you know, just having stuff like that, engaging people with it. Uh, Having a good tagline, or having a good sort of something you can get behind. Like I use Get Sworn a lot, like hashtag Get Sworn a lot, and people seem to sort of like that, or get behind it. And you can play with stuff like that. Uh,
It's actually really good advice. I know I'm in pre-launch right now, and my focus just keeps on getting jumping around. If you ever see me on Twitter, but I recommend it to someone that, yeah, if you have a mailing list and you're trying to get people to sign up for your mailing list, giving away something to kind of give them your email is actually a really good idea, and kind of brainstorm those things, like maybe a wallpaper. You're the first one who said MP3. I never thought to give away a free MP3 of music that might have gone with your campaign. So that's actually, I'm probably going to use that if you don't mind.
yeah, no, dude, a lot of people are using the same guy who made my track as well, you know, because I, I just think it's a pretty, I mean, it's an interesting way to do it. I kind of got it because that guy was actually, he's a synthwave producer, and his girlfriend bought the books and when they were in floppies, and sent them to him, and then he contacted me because he liked them so much. And it was always in the back of my head, like, oh, this guy is going to, I should get this guy to make a track, you know. And I was always worried again, like it's kind of like that, um, I don't know, like OCD sort of creative control I have over the book, where I just assume that no one is going to get it, you know, the way I wanted it to.
Hmm.
And so I was kind of putting it off. And then I was actually banned from a convention over here. So I took the money that I was going to use in a hotel, got the refund, got that money, and I sent it to the synthwave guy. And I was like, okay, dude, you just make it. You know, I already had in my head, I already thought that, you know, that money was spent. So I was like, okay, just go crazy. Here's a couple of tracks for inspiration. Just make a cool song. And he knocked it out of the park. So he really captured something that goes really well with the book. And he had the books to read and sort of go through it with them. So It's an interesting thing. And I mean, there's so everybody now is getting so multimedia with their comics or with their shows, and they're being on live streams, doing trailers for the book. It just kind of makes sense to have something that isn't, uh, royalty free sort of YouTube music going on behind it. If you can
Yeah.
craft something that's somewhat iconic, somewhat has a little melody that really fits your thing, that's unique to you, then, you know, I mean, it's only going to help.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing that too, just going crazy with making like little animations that kind of go along with their book. Little, I guess somehow making the cells in their books move around as though they're like little animated movies as well. And of course, you got music, you got live action trailers that people are playing around with. So those are really good ideas. And I mean, if you're gonna run with a campaign, I suggest like a lot of people like go balls to the wall. Like if you have an idea that you're trying to implement, don't second guess, well, should I do it? I don't know. Do it. You're trying to raise money. You're trying to fund your project. I mean, there's no second guessing. Like, if you think it's a good idea, put it together, let it do its thing. If you think it's going to work, that's what I say. I mean, you're trying to raise money. You're trying to get people to open their wallets to someone who's unknown, and you're trying to get them to give you money for something that they may or probably may not like. So you really have to sell the idea that you're trying to convey with your story in any means possible, because that's usually one thing you say you're not going to do, is probably going to be the bread and butter that actually gets you to that level of being funded. So very important, very important.
Yeah, I think another thing with just sales on Indiegogo is you want to minimize the amount of clicks it takes someone to buy your
Yes.
product.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I see a lot of campaigns where their perk images are just images from the comic, like close-up panels or something, or and the perk titles are like, they're kind of like a creative sort of perk thing, but they'd be like some kind of creative name. And I think that's cool for much bigger ones where you're giving away tons of stuff. But I always think that you should show exactly what the package is that people are getting in
Mm-hmm.
that image. And the title, just list kind of what it is. It minimized, because if you actually want to know what is in that perk, then you're going to have to click on it. You're going to have to read through the list. You're going to have to look at the quantity. It's always better to have that instant visual recognition of like, this is what you're getting, this is what it is. Minimize those clicks so that you can go straight into it and get them faster to that checkout, make it as comfortable as possible. Same with the artwork. Get the artwork up there, blast them with artwork, break it up with some comments or quotes or whatever, but really let people in and let them sort of stew in it. I see a lot of text and stuff about where people are talking about process or how they're going to do it or whatever, and I think it's like, get that, if you're going to do that, do it at the bottom, get the artwork up there, get it out there fast, and
Mm-hmm.
get people in, get them to know what they're buying.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, Carl, we're coming down to the end of our segment, man. So I really appreciate you coming on to the show, dude. I really am interested in your book. So once I get a little change in my pocket, because I'm not monetized yet on YouTube, so I'm really working hard to get there. But I will be back in your book. It looks fun. It looks actually totally inviting. So this is book one. How many books do you have in store, have planned?
Well, just for shipping with me, it works out best to do these kind of about 80-page sort of books. So that kind of, it means that each arc will probably be split in two. So book one is the first half of the first arc. So it leaves at a really good spot, and kind of gives a full rounded arc to a certain point for those characters, but there's still a lot they have to do. So there's book one and book two, and that's the kind of closure for the first arc. And then I have ideas for way down the line of this character and where to go, and what I'm gonna do with them. So you know, we'll see what doors open and what that comes to when this book gets out.
Sounds good, man. I'm looking forward to it. So whenever you do decide to do book two, we'll love to have you back on the show, man. I want to see how these characters progress and how your story actually comes to full light. Because, like I said, solar vampires. I mean, you can't get any more creative than that for sure.
Thanks, dude.
No problem. All right, Carl. Well, I'll see you on Twitter, man. You enjoy your Sunday, and I'll put your sorry, Saturday. It's Saturday over there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why I said Sunday. That's weird. Anyways, I'll put your link in the description below. Guys, if you're watching, go over there and back Deathsworn on Indiegogo. You got about 13 days left, so let's go. All right, Carl. Thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
All
having me.
right, man. Have a good day. And that's all the time we have for today's episode, guys. If you like this video, just please let me know with a like. And of course, if you're new to the channel, welcome. As always, please subscribe to the channel. We're really trying to get to that 200 subscriber mark. We've been sitting pretty at 164 subscribers for a little while now. So if you're frequent to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please, please, please hit that subscribe button. And if you want to kind of give me a little bit more joy, you can go ahead and hit that notification bell. We try to upload content at least 2 to 3 times a week, as well as keep it going on Twitter and Facebook. All right. So if you are an indie creator and you're trying to get some publicity at some point, let me know, because I would love to have you on the show. My show will return in November with new campaigns, new creators, new comics, new all that stuff. So if you guys want to get in before that, I am scheduling right now in November. So please, please, please hit me up on Twitter at Will at Heroic Studios. That's Will AT Heroic Studios, and you can find me holding my Red Ranger helmet. All right, guys. So I will see you guys next time for another episode of Indie Choice Picks. And remember, guys, always support indie creators everywhere. All right. I will see you guys next time.